Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel, Reality TV Africa, where we talk about all my favorite shows that I'm watching. That is Reality TV in Africa. And we're back again with another review for The Mummy Club, episode 9. I almost forgot what episode. Man, these episodes are going by fast. Yeah, so Payush, we're going to do a rating for this episode. Honestly, this episode was, I think, 46 minutes long. But it was, how do I say? There were no monumental, big reaction, big scenes happening. Yeah, I think the biggest thing was the launch event for Nala Rain skincare range, or Mrs. Mops's skincare range. But if I can rate the episode, it felt more like a filler episode. Most of the scenes also were filler ones. I mean, if you go to my Instagram, I didn't really put too much up in terms of reels because not too much was happening. So I'll give it a 6.5, to be honest. It was okay. I mean, aside from the odd drama here and there, mainly Happy and Mrs Sande, nothing else monumental really happened. Yeah, so we'll start with, I'll go through scene by scene of the things that stood out to me. This first scene, we see Mrs. Sande go for like a play date with Mrs. Mops. It's also cute to see them kind of bonding outside of the rest of the group because we have a divide in this group, and Mrs. Mops is making an effort to build a sort of a friendship or a rapport with Mrs. Sande, who's more friends with Ratile and Nunurai. So they go for a play date with their two kids. Mrs. Sande's two kids and Mrs. Mops's youngest. Though I felt like, did these ladies pull out their kids from school just for this play date? Because Mrs. Mops's kid looks old enough to be in school, maybe preschool, and Mrs. Sande's older child. I don't know how old the younger one is. And these episodes are usually shot during the weekdays when, ordinarily people are either at work and kids are at school. So, maybe, I mean, as a parent, it's your right to decide when your kid, you can pull your kid out of school if they're sick or for whatever reason, but not for extended periods, obviously. So, we'll allow it for now. We can see them talk, and we see Mrs. Sande kind of give her, an opinion of the ladies, and also opening up about mental issues and depression, which is, I don't know. When I hear about such issues, it makes me a bit nervous to have someone who's kind of gone through that on a reality show, because being on a reality show can take a toll on your mental health. I mean, from the social media, the fans' reactions, the commentaries, cyberbullying, aside from whatever drama is happening with the other castmates, there's that offline kind of kerfuffle that can kind of, wear you down. And if you have that kind of issue, it can really bog you down as an individual. So I'm hoping she's able to, weather the storm. Yeah, because it is a storm. Being on a reality show is a storm. Yeah, we see them talk about the other ladies, and obviously Mrs. Mops is asking her, what do you think of the other newbie, Nosy? And I mean, Mrs. Sande is open and honest, and I agree with her that Nosy is a bit reserved, quiet among the group. She doesn't open up a lot. She has a wall up. And I mean, going into a reality show like this is either two ways about it. Either you come out completely open about your life, or you're cagey about information. And I guess Nosy is going the cagey route. Though there's not much we know about Mrs. Sande apart from the fact that she has her husband, there are no issues there, and her kids, her businesses, Yeah, and Mrs. Sande is all about business when Mrs. Mops tells her about her plans to launch her skincare line, and Mrs. Sande is impressed. I mean, she's happy. One thing about Mrs. Sande, she's a businesswoman, and it's very clear her agenda on the show. Apart from the odd silly petty drama that she's causing, she's there to have her businesses. I mean, she's launched her lip line, did she launch it? No, she talked about it. I'm guessing she's gonna have an event. And yeah, so you can see her giving Mrs. Mops her props, you know, for having that business mindedness coming out. Yeah, then we get this filler scene. This one's purely a filler scene with Happy at home with her nanny Shalom, and she's getting Shalom cooking lessons with a chef, and that's pretty much the gist of it. Nothing really was said that was like whoa or anything really said. It was a filler scene. One thing about Mrs. Mops, she's down for a glammed up photo shoot. Okay, though this one wasn't so glammed up, it was more, it was more showcasing her skincare range. So she had to look plain Jane, but her skin is gorgeous, honey. Her skin is flawless, honey. Her skin is skinny, okay? And yeah, she's gone down the right avenue, launching a skincare line for sure. It's right up her alley, right up her, yes, it's within her wheelhouse to do that because she looks good. And yeah, the shoot is nice. We can see the angel wings. I guess she's going for an angelic, clean aesthetic, like she said, and here for it. Yes, then we see Barbara take Manshi, Mrs. Mops's nanny, to her hair salon to get the hair done, and she's even talking about how she's paying for it. So it was a bit odd to me that Barbara was kind of withdrawn and not giving it to Manshi like she did to Shalom and Mabel last week. It's like, is she intimidated by Manshi? Well, Manshi is very headstrong, very opinionated. She doesn't mince her words. She gives it to you like she does. So I feel like maybe Barbara is a bit intimidated by her and didn't want to really ruffle any feathers. Because in her confessional, she's like, look, nobody reached out to me. It's true. And I believe, by the way, I believe Barbara. Nobody reached out to her. I believe that. If I was in the other nanny's shoes, and not in a bad way, I wouldn't want to be, because you see, you don't know how, okay, let me speak in the sense that I am a nanny. I'm part of the group, and one of my friends has been fired by their boss. Our bosses are in a group, they're in a show together, and we are also part of the show. I wouldn't want to mess up my chances by siding with the nanny. Maybe on the side, or maybe, quietly, but then again, I don't want to risk losing my job for siding with a nanny who's been fired. I don't know the reason why she's been fired. Whatever reasons she's giving us, we don't know whether they're true. So there's a lot of layers, and I believe Barbara that nobody reached out to her in that sad and difficult moment for her, but I didn't appreciate the fact that she didn't stand up to Manshi. She should have called her out, just like she did the other two. And yeah, so I think Mrs. Manshi was coming off a bit manipulative in that sense. Like, she didn't want to be painted as in a negative light, so she wants to put Barbara on the spot. And Barbara didn't hold her accountable. Maybe she will at the reunion. Who knows? Also, what was that flimsy, useless, silly advice Manshi was giving Barbara about vitamin P and the hairline? Getting your hairline back by having a man. What kind of crock of BS is that? Like, girl, shut up. Nah. No, doesn't work that way. But anyway, it was a cute moment. Yes, then we get another filler scene. There were so many. This episode was just a filler episode, if you ask me, like I said in the beginning. Happy going to the dentist to get her veneers. Girl has money. She's dropping 134k rand on veneers. That is the equivalent to about 900,000 Kenya shillings, because I'm Kenyan and I had to do the conversion, and I'm like, woo, that's a lot of money. If I had that kind of money, I would fix something as well. So kudos to her on getting her new smile. Yes, then we finally get to the event. There's always like an event to wrap up an episode, or a trip, but this time it was an event. Nyla Rain Skincare, Mrs. Mops's skincare range. And wow, the products, the setup, it looks good. Nunorai didn't do that setup. though she gave it a tick, a stamp of approval. It looked good. It looked very intimate. I mean, even her friends, Mrs. Mops's friends who showed up, were getting a lot of airtime, I guess, because of how intimate it was. Sometimes, you know, when cast members have such events, they'll have about 15 or 20 people and the main cast on one table and the rest maybe, you know, around if it's a room or whatever, just to create, you know, the ambience of like an event and people and your friends can come and whatnot. But this one was very intimate, very tight, close group. And the ladies arrive and oh my goodness, best dress for me, hands down, Nunu Rai, who was unusually quiet in this episode. She, not a peep, not a word, which is, did she even get a confessional? She did, but barely. I mean, I'm like, where was Nunu Rai this episode? She was so quiet, but it's okay. I guess this wasn't her moment. We knew the two people who are gonna go head to head were Mrs. Sande and Happy, and yeah, they gave them the floor for that. But before we get to that, how good did Nunu Rai look? I think I've said that already, but I can't get over her outfit. I think she's just so fashionable, so stylish. Girl, love it. Then Mrs. Sande arrives, and actually Mrs. Sande was one of the first to arrive. I don't know, I had to talk about Nunu Rai because how good she looked, but Mrs. Sande's arrival, clearly she has a bone to pick with Happy, and she almost ignored her, but I mean the room was too small. There are too few people to ignore her. Girl, what are you doing? Okay, we get it. You want to show something is coming, I guess, because you can't ignore when there's like literally 3 people at the table and one of them is Happy. That was messy, but okay. I saw what you're trying to do. Okay. All right. Yes, and then what's her name? Mrs. Mops's friend Lerato. Gorgeous lady, gorgeous. I'm curious about her. Maybe they were doing a soft launch, a soft introduction. I don't know. But she looked good. She looked the part. She fit right in. And she was getting a bit of camera time. I mean, she had a lot of presence. The whole cheers in looking in the eyes and the way she directed the ladies to do all that. Yeah, she seems like a good vibe. Though, yeah, Omule Gala was missing, and I remember some few posts back, I think last week, or a couple of weeks back, I happened to see a post on Mrs. Mops's page with Omule. Of course, I guess, yeah, they're very good friends. And I just commented, I'm like, hey, we've missed Omule on the Mommy Club. What's up? She's not making any cameos this time. And Mrs. Mops replied and told me that she's in the middle of a shoot. And then, you know, when you're shooting like a film or a series or whatever she could be shooting, those go on for a while. And you see, Mommy Club might be shot in a period of weeks and back to back. And so she probably schedules would not allow for her to be on the Mommy Club set. But yeah, it would have been nice to see her as a follow through from last season, because she was a major part of last season, being a friend of. But yeah, I guess maybe I mean, the season hasn't ended, though we're on episode 9, so I'm not holding out hope, but it would have been nice to see her back again, mixing up with the ladies, with Nunu Rai, seeing how that would go, seeing as they had a kind of a tiff last season. Anyways, yeah, the rest of the ladies arrive. One of her other friends, KB, it looked like we're supposed to know who she is. Sorry guys, I am not South African, so I am not in touch with these personalities. I think seems like she's well known, I'm guessing, but she showed up in pink, not in theme, which was neutrals. And well, she kind of shaded Mrs. Mops and was like, I wasn't meant to come. Maybe she was a last minute invite, and that could be why she wore pink as opposed to the theme colors. Just a thought. But nevertheless, she came with bearing gifts, very, very nice speech, wise words of advice. And yeah, Mrs. Mops talked about her brand, why she called it Nala. I like the story behind the brand, the fact that that name is a family name within her family. and it tied in together. I mean, they were trying to make it seem like she's taken Nala from Lion King name, but no, it had a deeper meaning, and well appreciated to Mrs. Mops. Yeah, one thing I also picked up on was finally Nozipo kind of spoke at the event. I mean, not much, but she spoke and said something, which is a lot for her because she doesn't speak around the collective. Then we get to the beef. It's like these two, Happy and Mrs. Sande, knew what time it was, because the way they just went into that drama, it's like they knew they were coming to face off at this event, which to me makes sense why Nunurai barely said a word, because she was like, I'm gonna leave the floor to these people to hash their issues out and have their back and forth or whatever that is. So yeah, we see Mrs. Sande jabbing at Happy, like, yo, let me call your friend. And Happy is like, no, sorry. Yeah, Happy is like, what do you mean friend? She's like, didn't you guys reconcile? Yeah, we reconciled at your party. And you see, it's just this surfacey kind of drama that really, it doesn't bear no weight to the whole thing, They're just having an exchange of words that really is just silly, if you ask me. Yeah, their beef is not that deep, to be honest. I mean, you can tell even Mrs. Sande is kind of smiling and laughing and just kind of poking at Happy. Yeah, I found it silly. I found it petty, but it's a kind of drama that, should be on such a show, not when the ladies go below the belt and, really, really, really poke at each other. So yeah. We see next week Ratile is back, and Ratile is acting like, why are you people fighting when I'm not there about me and what not? And Nozipo is happy to report that they were fighting. And yeah, pretty much, what else happened? We see Nozi open up about her marital issues. But anyway, join me next week for another review. Thanks for joining me today. And over here, we love everything reality TV. Okay. Bye.